Tonight, we are not just telling a story. We are stepping into a world where holy men in embroidered robes ruled with more power than kings, where a single word from the Pope could crown an emperor or damn a soul to eternal fire. And yet behind these walls, very little was holy. This is not a story of saints. It is a story of ambition draped in gold, of desire disguised as piety, of scandal wearing the mask of faith. You don't know it yet, but today will echo for centuries. Long after your name is forgotten, the corridors you walk will keep your silence. The whispers you overhear will outlive the prayers. The stains of this day will cling to marble floors, to painted ceilings, to history itself. Close your eyes. Feel the ground tilt beneath your feet. The breath in your lungs grows thick, heavy, and when you open them again, you are no longer here. NNTHE arrival, you wake in Rome. The year is 1492. The air is the first to strike you. It is thick, perfumed with incense, but beneath it, rot, a staleness that clings to your throat. Smoke lingers everywhere, from torches, from hearths, from candles that burn day and night in endless prayer. Your ears are overwhelmed. Bells toll, deep, relentless, echoing across narrow streets. A horse brays, a beggar coughs, spitting into the dust. The murmur of Latin prayers drifts from a chapel, tangled with the shrill laughter of children chasing one another barefoot through filth. This is glorious and utterly foul. The cobblestones beneath your feet are cracked, slick with mud and waste. Between broken stones, weeds claw upward. In a stray dog noses through garbage. Chickens scatter as carts creak by, their wheels grinding through grime. NTHE smell is unbearable, in sweat, wine, dung, bread, meat gone bad, wool never washed. Too much humanity pressed too tightly together. You pull your cloak tighter. It does nothing. And above it all, towering like a mountain of stone and sanctity, the Vatican. The seat of power and its walls rise pale and severe, fortress as much as sanctuary. The spires of St. Peter's thrust toward heaven, still unfinished, wrapped in scaffolding like ribs around a giant. The dome has yet to crown it, and yet it dwarfs all around. From this seat, popes have crowned emperors. From this seat, crusades have been called. From this seat, kings have been damned, and now another waits to seize that throne. Your place in this world, you are no noble, no cardinal, not even a priest. You are a servant, and a shadow. A body meant to carry water, sweep ashes, hold doors, and keep silent. NBUT silence is power, for where others kneel in awe, you walk unseen behind them. You notice the way a cardinal's hand trembles during blessing, the curl of a lip at the smell of garlic on a rival's breath, the quick slip of coins exchanged when no one is meant to look. You will see what should not be seen. You will hear what must never be spoken. History will not write your name, but history will pass before your eyes. Nay, this is your curse. N and your gift NN, THE procession. It begins with sound, and a murmur rising like a tide. N, the shuffle of feet, the rustle of heavy fabric, the faint clink of gilded chains. And then they appear, NTHE cardinals, dozens of them, moving in solemn procession, red caps glowing like embers in torchlight, robes wide, movements measured, faces locked into masks of piety. NBUT look closely. Beneath the wrinkles, beneath the sagging skin, something burns, an ambition sharp as daggers. Every man dreaming of white smoke. White smoke, the signal that tells the world a new pope has been chosen. A shepherd for souls. A holy father, NBUTU, standing in the shadow, waiting. NTHE people gathered outside weep and pray, imagining angels guiding the vote. But in these corridors, there are no angels, only gold. In Rome, power is not chosen by God. It is bought, NNTHE man, who will be pope. You keep still as they pass, trying to breathe shallowly, trying to disappear into stone. And then you see him, Rodrigo Borgia, NHI's face broad, his smile smooth but empty of warmth, his eyes restless, scanning, calculating. His robes glimmer deeper than the rest, crimson rich as spilled wine. When he passes, the air itself seems to tighten, as if the walls lean closer to listen. Later he will be Pope Alexander VI. Later they will call him poisoner, seducer, tyrant. NBUT now. He is only a cardinal, a man glancing at you once, in passing, and in that instant you feel it. You have been weighed, measured, already judged, and a chill here you are. And the weight of history any THE Vatican swells with expectation. Any twain emulo. Tweists rush with scrolls. Any scribes sharpen quills. Any servants hurry with wine, with fruit, with incense. And everywhere the air trembles with tension. This is not a holy ritual. It is a coronation and a conquest. Any tweets Peter's throne does not merely rule the church. He rules the church. He rules king. In Theben's empires, and today, that ruler is being chosen. And you do not know it yet, but this day will echo for centuries. Scandals will soak these walls deeper than blood. Whispers will cling here long after prayers have died. And you, unseen, unremembered, will stand in the center of it all. In NTHE foreshadowing, NTHE bells toll again, and louder, deeper. The sound rattles the stones. The crowd erupts, praying, shouting, cursing. The white smoke has not risen yet, but the world already holds its breath. And as you look again at Rodrigo Borgia, that smile too smooth, and that hunger too sharp, you feel it. Something irreversible begins here. NNOT salvation, and not holiness, and not grace, NBUT scandal, and fire and I. This day will echo through time, and though history will never speak your name, you will never forget what you are about to see. And footprint, let the day begin, and before your eyes even open, something burns your nose. It is not incense. That sweetness is reserved for the chapels above, where choirs sing in Latin. No, what fills your nostrils here is older, heavier, clinging, rotting leather, damp wool. The sour sweat of another man's cloak, the same cloak you used as a blanket last night. It is stiff, foul, and damp against your cheek. You slept on bare stone. Your eyelids drag open. The ceiling above is low, uneven, streaked with shadows from smoke. Your head throbs. Your tongue is thick, your mouth sour with the taste of stolen, stale wine. You sit up. Your body aches, a deep, dull heaviness as though stone presses against bone. Your shoulders are stiff from labor, your hands raw with scratches. You barely remember how you collapsed here. Was it exhaustion that claimed you, or despair? The air itself is thick. You try to draw breath and cough. Dust rises from the floor, mixing with sweat, with grease of half-burned candles. Your stomach twists, not sickness. Hunger. And above you, bells thunder again. The sound rattles through your bones. Wince. This is your life. The Vatican is holy for some. This it is survival. The room around you, your eyes adjust slowly. The room is little more than a storage closet carved into the belly of the palace. Straw pallets line the walls, most of them broken, half empty. A few bodies still lie sprawled in uneasy sleep. Others stir, tugging on worn tunics, muttering, scratching at fleas. One boy, no older than 12, hacks violently, his thin chest shuddering. He spits blood onto the stone. No one turns. You've seen it before. Plague, sweating sickness, fevers that burn a man out in days. Servants collapse, die, are dragged away. New ones arrive to take their place. Thought flickers. How many bodies has this floor held before yours? You peel the cloak from your shoulders, gagging at the stench that clings to your skin. The smell will follow you all day. Stepping outside the corridor is no better narrow, dim, alive with scurrying feet. Torches sputter against damp walls, shadows stretching like grasping hands, and buckets of slop slosh over the stones, and rats dart in the corners. Above, the weight of the Vatican presses down. The upper halls gleam with polished marble, with painted ceilings, with gold bright enough to blind. But down here, below, there is only mildew and smoke. The smell sharpens as you walk. Piss. Shit. Rot. Stale air that has not been clean in years. Rome's waste flows everywhere, into gutters, into alleys, into the river. The eternal city breathes, but it reeks of death. Cold face. Surprise historical fact. Even here, at the heart of Christendom, in the shadow of St. Peter's, sanitation barely exists. Human waste piles in gutters. Chamber pots are emptied into corners. Even the Pope's own chambers, they whisper, stink beneath the perfume. You breathe shallowly. You will grow used to it. Or you won't. The awakening, your stomach gnaws at itself. Your throat burns. You search for water, a pitcher, perhaps, or a cup left behind. What you find instead is a bucket of cloudy liquid, stagnant and foul. You dip your hands anyway, splashing your face, swallowing a mouthful that tastes of rust and ash. You gag. But you swallow, because the day ahead will be long. and hunger is the cruelest master of all. NNTHE world above, and from above the sound of hymns descends. NTHE choir sings, voices rising against marble, soaring toward heaven. The sound is pure, golden, eternal, and yet you stand here in shadow, in filth, in fleas. NTHE contrast is unbearable. You press a hand, damp, breathing with the weight of stone. You close your eyes. For a moment, you listen. This is the Vatican. Here, heaven and earth are said to meet. NBUT. What you feel is not heaven. It is pressure. It is weight. The sense that something immense and merciless is watching. Gods, perhaps, or just men who believe themselves gods. NNTHE. First glimpse of scandalous door creaks. In a page hurries past, fine tunic brushing filth without care. In his hand, a purse heavy, bulging. You know what it means. Everyone does. NTHE Pope has not yet been chosen, but bribes are already moving through these halls. Gold flows like water and buying votes, buying loyalty, buying silence. Nand you, with an empty belly, with dry lips, with skin stinking of another man's cloak, and you watch while Christ's highest men gamble with enough coin to feed Rome starving for a lifetime. You clench your jaw, you say nothing, and because you are not meant to speak, and you are only meant to watch, and already you are seeing too much, and you breathe shallowly, ragged. The day has only begun, and already it weighs on you like stone, like stone. Move forward, my. The first shock is not thunder, not the bells of St. Peter's. It is silence. NTHAT swollen, suffocating silence that clings to the skin. The kind that tells you a place is hiding more than it dares to show. You stand in the Vatican Library, not as a scholar, but as a shadow. But as a shadow, NS helves rise like cathedrals, holding manuscripts older than kingdoms, older than popes. Dust hangs heavy in the air, thicker than incense. Books are sealed with velvet bindings, their titles scratched away, secrets locked by men who fear what might be known. And it is here, in this cradle of supposed holiness, that the unease begins. NNTHE first crack, and the facade a priest stumbles past you. His hands tremble. His robes reek of wine. NNOT sacramental wine, and not the solemn sip of Eucharist, but the sour, drowning stain of nights emptied into goblets. NHI's eyes flicker, restless, guilty, toward doors that should never be opened. And though you know you shouldn't, you follow, down the spiral stairwell, deeper into the stone belly of the papal palace. With every step, the sound grows louder, laughter, but not holy laughter, not the bright ring of children, not the gentle joy of saints. This is darker, rougher, the kind of laughter that knows no shame. You push open a door. Candles spit their flame across carved pillars meant for saints. Women in silk recline in shadowed corners. Cardinals, draped in crimson, lounge like Roman emperors, tossing dice across scripture. NTHE air is thick, myrrh drowned beneath musk, roses wilting beneath sweat. Here the contradiction cuts deep. Men who thunder against lust from the pulpit now drink with courtesans in the dark. Men who condemn greed now gamble coins as though eternity itself could be wagered. You are no longer a pilgrim, no longer a visitor. You are an intruder, and intruders see what they are never meant to. Whispers in the corridors and among the drunken toasts, a name rises again and again. Rodrigo Borgia. NTHE sound strikes you like a spell, and not reverent, not prayerful, and but hungry. They say he is clever, and they say he is ruthless. They say he is destined, and but above all, they say he is untouchable, and a spider at the center of Rome's web, pulling threads of power with mistresses, merchants, and gold. Your chest tightens. This is not Peter's rock. This is not the church you dreamed. This is a throne trembling on the edge of desire, and you, caught in its shadow, feel the ground shift beneath your feet. He waits inside you. When you walk back through the Vatican halls, the vision does not leave you. The marble shines too brightly, as though it must blind you to what you've seen. The tapestries of saints hang heavy, not as protectors, but as silent witnesses. Your own heartbeat betrays you. And something is wrong. Something festers here, and the contradiction refuses to let go. Comedy's stranger's warning. At the gate, a hand grips your sleeve. A woman cloaked in midnight leans close. Her voice is a whisper again. Do not stand too near. The papacy is a river. It will sweep you under before you know how to breathe. NHER eyes burn with truth she cannot speak aloud. And then she is gone, swallowed by the crowd of pilgrims, leaving you shaken. The foreshadowing, you are left with a choice, though no one has asked you to make it in. Do you close your eyes, pretend you saw nothing? Or do you walk deeper, knowing the labyrinth will close in around you? Rome hums with rumors. Rome hums with rumors. Nosebends sworn to celibacy. Poison slipped into chalices. And as dusk spreads its violet veil over the city, you realize something chilling. You are no longer here as a pilgrim. You are no longer here as a pilgrim. Your masks are worn, and it will echo inside you forever. The bells ring again, low, heavy, like a heartbeat carved from bronze. You rise, not because you wish to, and because the palace itself commands it. Morning here is unlike anywhere else in Europe. The light is not just the sun. It is wax hardened overnight, glistening like pearls along marble floors. It is incense, clinging to robes, seeping into every corridor, every hidden chamber where whispers wait. And you are here in the Vatican. NTHE halls stretch around you, too vast for men, built, it seems, for gods. Each arch rises so tall you feel swallowed whole. Each fresco stares back at you as if alive. Cherubs float above in plaster, their little hands pointing down and reminding you that even beauty watches. NBUT this morning, this is no holy morning. This is no holy morning. This is a morning of scandal. The whispering corridors. You pass priests muttering in Latin. But these are no prayers. These are secrets. Their lips move fast. Their eyes dart faster. They speak of bribes dressed as gifts, of women slipping into cloisters when the candles are low. A boy walks past you, carrying a tray of wine far too fine for the hour. His robe is too long, dragging on the floor. He vanishes into a chamber where soft music lingers. A guard shuts the door before you glimpse more. But you already know, everyone knows. This palace, the so-called heart of Christendom, beats not only with prayers, it beats with lust, with greed, with hunger so very human it drowns the divine. NNTHE feast before noon and the morning meal, it is no monk's bread. NNONTHE tables bend beneath roasted game, figs dripping in honey, silver goblets spilling wine that stains lips purple. Cardinals in crimson dip jeweled fingers into sauce, their rings flashing in the light. One laughs too loud, his mouth wide, teeth yellowed from indulgence. Another leans close to a noblewoman, her gown scandalously low for holy ground. Their laughter is not pious, their touch is not restrained. This is the court of God's shepherds. And yet it feels more like Caesar's Rome reborn. A glimpse behind the veil, deeper still, the air thickens. Behind carved doors, letters rise in stacks. Not love letters, though the ink smudges like passion. They are pleas. Petitions, bribes dressed as offerings. Dukes promise soldiers, merchants promise gold. Even kings lower themselves to parchment, begging the Pope's blessing for wars that have nothing to do with heaven. And you realize the Pope's quill is sharper than any sword. With ink, he can crown a king or strip him bare. But that ink is not always honest. Sometimes it is bought nightfall in the Vatican. When night comes, the Vatican does not sleep. Candles burn late. Shadows stretch deep. The Holy Palace becomes a stage, and its players drop their masks, and a cardinal slips into chambers not his own. A woman in silks glides silently down a corridor, her eyes sharp, her face half hidden. Laughter echoes in a chapel long after prayers should have ended. And then the music, soft strings, drifting like perfume. Not hymns, ballads, not sacred, but secret. NBY night. The Vatican is something else, something more dangerous, something more alive. You realize in this palace of marble and gold is not merely holy, it is human, painfully, scandalously human. Every fresco hides a whisper, every prayer is tangled with desire, every decision shaping kingdoms and is touched by hands, not clean, day but trembling with greed. Nanju, you walk among it, you feel the heat of scandal in the very stones. You hear it in the laughter spilling from gilded doors. You smell it in the air. Wine, incense, sweat, sin. This is the Vatican. This is daily life in the house of God. And here you begin to understand, scandal is not the exception. It is the rhythm. It beats with the bells. It breathes in the marble. It lingers in the shadows. And you are not just a witness to it. You are caught in it. You stand in a square, drenched in light. Rome is alive with ceremony. Scarlet banners snap in the wind, gold threads catching the sun. Trumpets split the air, sharp, brazen, commanding N. The crowd surges forward, their eyes fixed on a single figure raised above them all, NTHE Pope. Radiant, his vestments shimmer like molten sunlight. Upon his head, the triple crown, heavy with jewels. In his hand, a staff glittering with power. Behind him, cardinals in crimson ranks, their robes flowing like rivers of blood. Incense coils upward, thick and sweet, drowning the air in holiness. The Pope lifts his hand, slowly, 2 fingers raised, and the crowd kneels, tens of thousands falling silent as if God himself had pressed their shoulders to the earth. The square hushes, only the flutter of pigeons, only the roll of distant drums, and yet you feel it. A shadow, the secret pulse beneath all this glory. Rome in this age is a city of spectacle, and no man understands spectacle better than a Renaissance pope. Every gesture rehearsed, every blessing staged. Behind velvet curtains, scribes, artists, even choreographers prepare what the world will see. The Pope is an actor upon the grandest stage in Christendom. When he smiles, heaven must seem to smile. When he weeps, the faithful must feel the tears of Christ. And yet, the Pope is also flesh. You know what the crowd does not. The hand that trembles when wine from the night before lingers too long. The secret letters delivered in candlelight from women who should not exist. The back room deals with kings and mercenaries, cloaked in the language of holy diplomacy. The public face shines immaculate, but behind it burns another truth. Imagine slipping past the curtain. The roar of the crowd fades. In its place, whispers. The clink of crystal. The Pope sheds his vestments. The gold is gone. Now he is only a man, neck damp with sweat, lips marked by wine. The crown is shut in its chest. The staff rests against the wall, and with each layer removed, another mask falls. Here is the Pope his circle knows, not vicar of Christ, but politician, schemer, lover. One moment he blesses the poor. The next, he counts the coin of indulgences, rivers of gold feeding palaces and war. It is a life of contradiction, holiness by day, hunger by night, and of the crowd's illusion, outside. The people know nothing. They clutch relics to their hearts. They kiss the dust stirred by his carriage wheels. They believe every word whispered from his balcony is divine breath. Tao. Mothers lift their babies high, begging a glance that might guard them from famine. Old men weep at Latin prayers they do not understand. Pilgrims return home swearing they saw holiness itself. The illusion works. And it must. The Pope is more than a man. He is Rome itself, the thread binding Christendom, even as it frays with war and doubt. If his private sins were known, the spell would break. And so the dance continues. Nightfall's secret laughter, the clink of goblets raised. The Pope presides not over saints, but over courtesans, and banquets heavy with roasted boar, wine poured thick and red, poetry whispered in corners, and paintings unveiled that would scandalize the faithful if ever seen. Here, appetite rules, and power, beauty, pleasure, and yet the mask never vanishes. A mistress still kneels to kiss the papal ring before she leans closer. A toast is raised, not to love, but to legacy. Even in sin, ceremony holds. Even in shadows, the Pope remains trapped in his role. An classical building, you, the witness, and in you stand between two worlds. NBY among pilgrims who see miracles in every shaft of light on gold. By night, among whispers hidden behind, and slowly you understand, scandal is not a stain upon the papacy. It is woven into its very fabric. NFOR power, this vast demands a mask. And behind every mask waits a truth too human, too fragile for the faithful to bear. In New Moon, the whisper beneath the glory, you leave the Vatican at night. Rome breathes differently now. Lanterns flicker in alleyways. Prostitutes call from shadows. Thieves slip past shrines where candles gutter in the dark. NTHE City mirrors the papacy, radiant at its heart, decayed at its edges. Then the thought grips you, and tomorrow, when the Pope raises his hand again, when he blesses the multitude with divine certainty, will they see what you have seen? Will they smell the wine on his breath? Hear the laughter from banquet halls? Feel the weight of secrets pressing behind his eyes? Nor will they, as always, believe the mask. Perhaps this is the true scandal. Not the sins in shadow, but that the world chooses not to see. Your crown is not made of gold. It is made of whispers. When you sit upon the papal throne, the world sees marble, jewels, and glory. But you feel only the cold weight of invisible knives at your back. Every corridor hides a listener. Every servant who bows might belong to your enemies. Every cardinal who kisses your ring may already be rehearsing your funeral. Because Rome is not simply the city of God. It is the most dangerous chessboard in all of Europe. You know this truth when the letters arrive, sealed in wax, carried by trembling messengers through the dark corridors of the Vatican. France demands you condemn Spain. Spain demands you silence. France, Venice whispers of heresies. The Holy Roman Emperor demands indulgences, gold, soldiers. And then, upon your table, lies a letter with no seal at all, anonymous. It reads only one line in. You will not last the year. You tell yourself you have read worse, that the devil speaks with many tongues. But when the candles are snuffed, and you lie in the silence of your chambers, that one sentence lingers in the air above your bed. You are not only God's shepherd, you are a politician, and a gambler, nay, survivor, and as so you play the game, as carefully as a lutenist plucks his strings. One cardinal receives the promise of Florence, another, the discreet gift of a mistress. Indulgences are sold to fund your wars, each coin clinking in the coffer, another soul's promise of salvation or rebellion. And still you pray, not to God, but to luck. In BUT, enemies do not wait politely outside Vatican walls. One morning, a dish of figs is sent to your table. Ian, you never touch them. Another, a chalice of wine tastes bitter. Is it simply sour, or has it been kissed with arsenic? You remember the Pope who collapsed mid-banquet, lips foaming, gasping like a fish. The report called it food poisoning. But everyone knew. Everyone always knows. NTHE papacy is not inherited by virtue. It is won and often stolen. And yet, while you guard against daggers and poisons, you wield your own weapons. In Florence, bankers grow too rich. In Venice, whispers grow too loud. And here in Rome, a rival cardinal dares to challenge you openly before the college in SO. You summon the Inquisition. They move like wolves in the night, dragging men from their beds, torchlight against stone, screams echoing in chambers below. And you need not even raise your voice. The silence of fear does the work for you. When that rival cardinal is dragged through Rome, stripped, accused, disgraced, the people do not see your hand. They see only the church's justice. And but, your enemies are clever. Across borders, in hidden presses, pamphlets are printed. Protestant voices call you beast, devil, whore of Babylon, and the people believe. You hear laughter in the streets. You hear your name twisted into curses. And so you order the pamphlets burned, the printers executed, the rebels hunted. But words burn slower than paper, and once spoken they cannot be unsaid. Reformation spreads like fire in dry wheat. Then you, God's chosen on earth, must fight not only kings and assassins, but ideas themselves. At night you dream. Crowns that slip from your head, poison in your veins, a mob breaking down the marble doors of St. Peter's. When you wake, your tongue still tastes of fear. You are not the first pope to feel this. Some waged wars like generals. Some drowned themselves in flesh to forget the knives. And some never lived beyond a few months, poisoned before they could even place their pieces on the board. Your enemies are everywhere, but so are your allies. And so every morning you rise, you dress in white, and you play the game again. Because for all its dangers, there is no throne more intoxicating than the chair of St. Peter. And you, whatever else you are, have no intention of giving it up. The crowd disperses, the incense fades, the echo of your blessing dwindles into silence. And at last, the mask slips. Doors of the Vatican Palace close behind you, heavy as tombstones, shutting out pilgrims, ambassadors, and the endless noise of piety. Air grows still. Only the faint perfume of smoke remains. Your sandals strike the marble, not toward prayer but deeper into your quarters. They are no monks' cloisters. They are gilded cages, drowning in velvet, in frescoes, in gold. Naked angels painted above, their eyes wide, their innocence unable to hide the contradiction of their company. The servant bows as you pass, eyes lowered and movements rehearsed. He knows not to look, not to linger, not to speak, because what he sees is not the Pope. Behind these walls of sanctity lives a man of hungers. The first indulgence comes in crystal, in wine. Deep, red, almost black. You sip. It spreads across your tongue like molten silk. It warms your throat. It loosens the mask that hours of ritual demand. And then the music begins. NNOT hymns, not chants, but something softer. N strings, lutes, notes that ripple like fingers across bare skin. And with the music comes laughter. They enter quietly. Actors, singers, courtesans and painted lips, powdered faces, gowns loosened enough to make piety blush. In public, you are the vicar of Christ. In private, You are a Roman emperor reborn. Wine flows, the laughter swells, and candles burn low. Shadows grow long, and somewhere between song and kissing, you forget where the line is. Beyond the bedchamber lies another room, locked, hidden. Here your collections, forbidden manuscripts, and pagan statuettes, and perfumes from Eastern harems, Avery Venuses. Love poems copied in secret. You know the irony. You are the one who bans them. You are the one who signs their damnation. And yet, here they rest, beneath your seal. NNOT trophies. N necessities. Because what is power without pleasure? What is eternity without proof of now? And then, there is the one who always remains. NNOT, a nameless guest, not a passing body. NBUT, the one who returns, and again. And again. Perhaps it is a woman with storm in her eyes. Perhaps a man, eloquent, dangerous in his beauty. It matters little. What matters is this: they know you. NNOT, the Pope. Not the Holy Father, but the man, the hunger, the sinner. When they touch your hand, you forget the throne of Peter. You forget the crowd beyond the walls. You forget eternity itself. And man, morning comes too soon. NTHE laughter is gone. The courtesans vanish like ghosts. The wine jugs stand empty, stained with sin. And you, tangled in silks and sweat, stare up at painted angels, and their eyes wide, and unchanged, NPI, tying or complicit. Knock at the door. Your confessor waits. He will listen. He will nod. He will absolve. And the cycle will begin again. In sin, in confession, in absolution, in repetition. In ace eternal, as Mass itself. NBUT, one thought clings to you. Like smoke, NDO, they know? NDO, the cardinals see it in your eyes? Do the pilgrims hear it in your voice? Does God himself watch in silence? Outside, they kneel for your blessing. They believe you holy and untouchable, chosen. And inside, you carry wine on your tongue, perfume on your skin, the memory of flesh in your hands. You are both and Pope and sinner, and saint and scandal, and in scandal. And perhaps the greatest indulgence of all is not the wine, not the flesh, not the laughter in the dark. NBUT, the power to sin without consequence, the power to live two lives, and never be punished, at least not yet. You sit in a hall that swallows the night. NTHE torches roar like captured suns locked in iron cages. Their light spills across marble floors veined like frozen rivers of fire. NTHE air is thick in roast and spice, wax and perfume. Every scent, every flavor, every excess, pressing down until even your breath feels gilded. This is no supper, and this is theater, and a ritual, a sermon of sin dressed in celebration. And you remember where you are, or Rome and the Vatican, and under Pope Alexander VI. NTHE, name itself already whispers like poison. And Borgia, and whispers of corruption, and of power bought like bread, and love sold like coin. And tonight, at his table, you see why that name will echo for centuries. NV. The table is a battlefield, not of swords, but of abundance, and peacocks, their feathers dipped in gold, necks bent like living sculpture, swans roasted whole, wings reattached so they seem to rise from the platters, mountains of eel and anchovy gleaming in oil, pyramids of sugared almonds painted red and green, and cheeses the size of tombstones. And wine. No, the wine. It does not pour in cups. It spills in rivers. A fountain at the hall's center gushes it, dark as blood, into chalices held by boys no older than children. You look closer. Some cardinals are already drunk. Faces flushed, lips wet, eyes gone glassy. Holy men? Non-beasts wrapped in robes, and above them saints stare down from the ceiling. But in candlelight, even the painted eyes burn with judgment. This is not a feast for pleasure alone. This is how a pope displays power. And every dish is a sermon, every toast a weapon, and a diplomat from France bites into boar and tastes Rome's wealth. An ambassador from Venice sips his wine and sees alliances shift. A young cardinal takes too much, drinks too deep, and is silently marked. Weak, corruptible, disposable. You understand now. This table is a trap. NTO, eat here is to be measured. To drink here is to be judged. At its center, Alexander VI himself. Scarlet robes, gold embroidery. NBUT, the eyes in his eyes glitter, restless, sharp. Every smile a hook, every toast a chain. NHE is not feasting. He is hunting. And then the music changes. Dancers glide into the hall, their skin painted in silver dust. They move like smoke. Violins weep, on flutes sigh. Drums beat like the pulse of the body itself. Courtesans pour wine, bend close, whisper into the ears of princes of the church, their eyes sharp, their words sharper. You catch fragments, a bishopric, if you. Venice will not wait forever. The Holy Father knows everything. You see it now. This is no feast. This is a marketplace, a trading floor of flesh and loyalty. And every laugh hides a bargain. Every kiss seals an alliance. Every glance carries the weight of nations. And later still comes what history will never forget. NTHE hall darkens. You are led to another chamber, smaller and closer. The lamps low, the air thick with musk. And then it begins. 50 courtesans, bare but for jewels, crawl across the floor, scattering roasted chestnuts. On hands and knees they chase them, twisting, bending under the hungry eyes of bishops and nobles. Laughter erupts. Wine spills like blood. Cesare Borgia, the Pope's son, watches, hawk-faced, merciless, a predator among predators. Lucrezia Borgia, golden, beautiful, unreadable, sits in silence, her smile sharper than any blade. And you cannot move. This is not worship. This is desecration. This is empire dressed as church. NBUT, even here, in the roar of music and laughter, another sound creeps in. Silence, NTHE, silence of those not invited. NTHE, poor. The pilgrims. The faithful, kneeling tonight in cold chapels, whispering prayers into stone, their stomachs empty, their faith trembling. While these halls drown in excess, you can almost hear them, whispers under the feasting inn. Why? Why do we starve while they gorge? Why do we suffer while they laugh? NTHE roasted meat turns rancid in your nose. The laughter sharpens, becomes a shriek. For a moment, you are falling through marble floors and into the streets where Rome's poor sleep on straw, ribs sharp, hands blistered. NTHE contrast crushes your chest, and then, clarity, you know it. You feel it. This cannot last. Empires built on hunger collapse. Banquets of power never feed the soul. What begins in excess always ends in fire. NTHE torches crackle louder. The wine fountain runs thicker, dark as blood. Pope Alexander raises his hand for silence. And in that moment, you see the future end protest and rebellion, reformation. NTHE table overturned. NBUT not tonight. Tonight, the feast rages on, and you, caught in its glow, feel the weight of history pressing against your chest. The marble beneath your feet no longer feels like triumph. It feels like judgment. Cold, unyielding, echoing back every step as if the very stones of Rome are counting your sins. Once, the Vatican roared with the sound of dominion. Bells thundered, choirs drowned doubt, and every painted ceiling was proof of eternity. But now, the silence between the echoes is heavier than the sound itself. You walk past corridors where cardinals whisper, their robes brushing marble like rustling parchment. Their glances slide over you, no longer with reverence, but with calculation, as though they are waiting for the curtain to fall, for the actor to miss his final line. The gardens, your once living testament to order, geometry, divine abundance, now betray you. Roses blacken at their tips, fountains lose their sparkle, vines strangle statues meant to honor saints. Even beauty has turned against you, reminding you that nothing gilded can stay untouched by decay. And yet, the grandeur lingers. The domes still glimmer, the candles still burn, the Sistine ceiling still opens heavenward. In BUT, you feel it, the rot beneath the gold, the fracture beneath the facade. And outside Rome, the storm gathers. The peasants curse indulgences under their breath, voices like tinder awaiting spark. The reformers sharpen their words into swords, carried by presses faster than armies. Every tavern now echoes with defiance. Every village priest reads from tracts that mock Rome's excess. Once, your word was law. Now your word is questioned. And once questioned, it cannot be made sacred again. NTHE printing press has become your true enemy, ink bleeding like open wounds across Europe. The story is no longer yours to tell. It belongs to the people. And the people remember differently. They remember bribes, scandals, feasts, silken lovers, and they stitch these memories into banners of rebellion. You try to pray. In the Sistine Chapel, Under God's finger stretched toward Adam, you raise your eyes. You imagine the spark leaping across the eternal gap. But in your heart, you feel only absence. The bridge you claim to embody now feels broken, dangling in the void between heaven and earth. NTHE turning point arrives not in thunder, but in whispers. A council behind closed doors. A letter from a monarch you once crowned, now refusing to kneel. A reformer's words spreading faster than you can burn them. And suddenly, you realize it is not heresy that threatens you. It is truth. Rome itself listens, and the streets thrum with rumor. Merchants laugh at Rome's hunger for coin. Nobles sharpen daggers behind their backs. Children play at mocking you in alleys. NTHE world no longer trembles at your shadow. The world begins to see through it. And for the first time, fear claws at your chest. Not fear of death, not fear of armies, but fear of memory. Because you know what memory does. It endures long after marble cracks and frescoes fade. Will you be remembered for the artists you patronized, the splendor of your basilicas, the miracles of light and stone? Or will your name be carved into history as a warning, greed wrapped in holy robes, indulgence masked as salvation? NTHE fall is not a moment. It is a slow collapse, 1,000 tiny fractures spreading beneath your throne until one day it simply gives way. And you, who once felt eternal, now feel the floor trembling. Still, in the deepest chamber of your heart, a flicker stirs. A question, not a possibility. Perhaps the fall is not the end. Perhaps it is the seed of something that must come after you. In BUT, it will not be yours. It will belong to those who rise from your ruins, who forge faith in fire and reform, who speak your name only as a shadow of what must never be again. You were splendor. You were corruption. You were divine theater. And now you are the turning point. The air in Rome is heavy. You feel it pressing on your chest as you walk the cobbled streets. NTHE whispers louder now. What was once hidden behind frescoed walls, behind velvet curtains, has spilled into the open. The veil is slipping, and you are standing at the turning point. You see it in faces first. The shoemaker mutters as he shuts his shop, spitting into the gutter. A noblewoman clutches her rosary, fingers trembling, prayers bitter. The pilgrim, barefoot from across Europe, kneels not in reverence, but in anger. NTHE scandals of the popes have reached the ears of Christendom. You remember the laughter of Rodrigo Borgia, Pope Alexander VI? That golden, dangerous laughter that once filled the night with power, but now it echoes differently. NNOT charm N, not majesty, but evidence, proof of excess. And the people whisper N, how can God's vicar live like this? You hear it too. The turning point is not a day, not a single hour. It comes like a tide, rising, crashing. Pamphlets spread like wildfire, sharper than swords, mocking the gluttony, condemning the bastards of priests, painting popes as devils in disguise. You see them nailed to doors, slipped into students' hands, whispered between merchants. NTHE printing press, and that small miraculous invention becomes the hammer striking Rome's gilded armor. And the city feels it. Cardinals glance over their shoulders. Feasts grow quieter, but no less indulgent. The attempt to hide makes guilt glow brighter. Then storms rise beyond Italy. Germany burns. A monk named Martin Luther nails fury to a church door in Wittenberg, and his words fly farther than Rome's armies can ever reach. You stand in a northern tavern among farmers and merchants. A small sheet passes hand to hand. It names the Pope N. Antichrist, whore of Babylon, cloaked in silk. NTHE farmers, eyes glimmer with rage. Their voices rise like fire. N. No more indulgences. No more gold bought with our sins. And in that moment, you know, the fall has begun. But Rome does not yield. Not quietly. You walk through Vatican corridors, marble statues glaring down, as if daring you to question them. And in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo paints the heavens, new prophets, end prophets. Visions so divine they make you tremble. For all its sins, Rome wields beauty like a weapon, art as armor, frescoes as shields. And for a moment, you're torn. NHOW can hands that bless corruption also summon beauty that feels eternal? How can a Rome drowning in scandals still birth visions that feel touched by God? This is the paradox of the turning point. Both glory and downfall born together. Pope Julius II storms through Italy in armor, and the warrior pope, his wrath terrible, his ambition godlike. NHE builds St. Peter's anew, as though stone and marble could cleanse sin. NBUT whispers follow him. And the louder Rome builds, and the louder Europe questions. And you walk candlelit halls. You hear muttered prayers of a pope who knows his name will not be remembered for holiness, but for scandal. You hear reformers sharpening words like daggers. You hear the people's cries, and louder than hymns, and rising like a storm. The turning point has come. Rome can no longer hide. The world will no longer kneel blindly. And you stand in the silence between fall and glory, waiting to see what shatters first, and the faith of the people or the power of the papacy. The sun sinks behind Rome's 7 hills, its last gold bleeding into violet, and the city exhales as though loosening a corset after too many hours. The brilliance of day, sharp, exposing, merciless, withdraws, leaving behind a gentler world of silhouettes and murmurs. Marble monuments that glared white at noon now soften into ghostly shadows, draped in dusk. Day has always been Rome's theater. Night, however, is its confessional. You walk with the city as it shifts skins. Lanterns bloom one by one, shy fires trembling against the wind, each flame a heart attempting to hold back the dark. The smell of smoke mixes with olive oil, with the faint, lingering sweetness of incense spilling from a chapel still unlocked. Within, a lone priest chants half-whispered prayers, his voice thin but unwavering, as if even in solitude, God must be reminded to listen. Far away, bells toll from a convent, the sound neither celebration nor lament. simply the steady breathing of eternity. Rome, after all, does not measure itself by the lives of men. Yet in the streets, life goes on. The tone of voices deepens with night. Laughter from taverns swells and overflows, thick as spilt wine. Soldiers stagger down alleys, arms thrown across each other's shoulders, their chants fractured but defiant, their boots striking the stones with erratic rhythm. Behind closed shutters, lovers murmur words never meant for daylight. And always, rising above the mess of humanity, the Vatican dome gleams faintly, touched by moonlight like the eye of a god that refuses to close. You drift from the broad streets into narrower veins. The world contracts here, corners conspire, and each doorway seems to hold its breath. Your footsteps echo against stone, louder now, each tap a reminder that you are alone, or perhaps being followed. A hooded figure brushes past you, head lowered, clutching something beneath his cloak. You do not ask what. Rome, at night, punishes curiosity. Candle which shouted itself raw during the day does not disappear after dusk. It mutates. It seeps into whispers, presses itself against ears, lingers on lips like the aftertaste of wine. You can feel it in the air. Scandal as palpable as humidity. The Pope, who paraded as Holy Father beneath daylight's glare, now vanishes into chambers unseen. Whether he kneels in prayer or indulges in sins hushed but widely suspected, you cannot know. Nobles who carried themselves as paragons of faith now recline in silk-draped rooms, feeding desires that mock their piety. Cardinals, sworn to chastity, slip into beds warm with perfume and secrecy. Yet holiness is not entirely drowned. At a small shrine along the street, you notice a widow kneeling on stone, her rosary cutting deep into her fingers. Her prayer is not gilded like the processions you witnessed, but raw, desperate, honest. It rises into the night like a thin plume of smoke, as fragile and necessary as breath itself. In that moment you realize, Rome is never one thing. It is both. It is contradiction made flesh, corruption and sanctity kneeling side by side beneath the same indifferent stars. Nthe Tiber finds you next. Its waters shift sluggishly, dark silver under the moon, carrying centuries in its current. You lean on the balustrade, listening. The river speaks, though not in words. A slow, eternal murmur, as though it has gathered every confession, every rumor, every scandal and carries them away. You feel small here, against its patience. Empires crumble, popes die, scandals rot into silence. But the Tiber continues, unbothered. As the hour deepens, the city folds itself inward. Lanterns burn lower, taverns dim. Even the laughter dwindles into murmurs before vanishing altogether. Watchmen remain, their torches bobbing like drifting stars, their boots ringing against stone. Somewhere, faint and far, a lute plays a final note. Fragile as if afraid to disturb the sleep of Rome, your own steps slow. The night presses heavy, weighted with everything you have seen and felt. Power swollen with hypocrisy, faith stripped bare in desperation, excess and hunger sharing the same streets. Rome is not a city. It is a body. And tonight you have heard its heartbeat. And at last you reach the threshold of your room. A single candle flickers on the table, flame bending as if it recognizes your arrival. You close the door behind you, and the outside world collapses into silence. Shadows stretch long along the plaster, dancing like silent actors waiting for their cue. You wash your hands in a basin of cool water. The ripples shimmer faintly, disturbed by your touch, then still themselves into a mirror that offers back a tired face. You whisper a prayer, not out of certainty that it will be heard. Doubt is Rome's constant companion, but because the act itself feels like joining a chorus that has hummed through the centuries. Prayer here is not always belief. Sometimes it is simply survival. You lie upon your bed. The mattress creaks softly, as though sighing beneath the weight of yet another soul come seeking rest. Through the small window above, the Vatican dome peers again, this time a darker silhouette against the glitter of stars. It feels like an eye that never sleeps. Not always merciful, not always cruel, but always watching. Your thoughts do not release you easily. Images tumble across your mind. A pope laughing in silks, a widow's cracked whisper, goblets spilling over with wine, the Tiber swallowing secrets whole. The line between sacred and profane blurs, dissolves, becomes meaningless. Sleep comes not like a gentle descent, but like a curtain falling at the end of a play. One moment you linger in thought, the next you are pulled into dream. Rome itself seems to breathe with you in that dream. Vast, eternal, holy and damned, beautiful and corrupt. And you, a witness, float in its tide, waiting for the curtain of dawn to rise on yet another act. The fire is almost gone. What was once a blaze of heat and light is now little more than a fragile ember, shivering against the vastness of night. Its glow breathes across the walls, casting shadows that waver, reach, then retreat, like memories that refuse to leave, but also refuse to stay. You sit within this dimness, and it feels familiar, not empty, not frightening, but honest. Your body carries the years. The bones, softened with wear, hum with fatigue. The skin, folded and loosened, remembers every season it has weathered. And yet, within your chest, the same steady drum continues, the pulse that has carried you through storms and silences. The quiet proof. You are still here. Beyond the window, the world hums in fragments. A dog barks in the far distance. Somewhere, a child's laugh is carried by the wind, quick and bright, before being swallowed by the silence again. Leaves scrape against each other, their dry whispers speaking the same secrets they have told for centuries. Life continues. Indifferent, perhaps, but also eternal. And you are no longer indifferent. Once, you might have turned away from reflection. Once, silence was unbearable. A mirror too sharp, too merciless. But now it feels different. Now the quiet is not absence. It is fullness. It is not an empty room, but a room filled with every life that has touched yours, every lesson you carried, every scar that grew into wisdom. You feel them here, all of them. NTHE fleeting ones, who passed like comets and vanished before you could even learn their names. The enduring ones whose presence grew into roots deep in your soil, impossible to pull free. The ones who loved you, the ones who betrayed you, the ones who left too soon, the ones who stayed longer than you expected. They linger, not as voices, but as sensations. The way a smile once made you lift your head. The way a hand on your shoulder steadied you when you thought you might fall. The way betrayal carved a wound so deep it felt endless, and yet still, somehow, it taught you to heal. All of them are folded into you. Time has layered them like rings inside an ancient tree. You are no longer only yourself, and you are an archive. A living memory, a vessel carrying pieces of every life you have ever touched. And now you sit with it, and not fighting, and not fleeing, just sitting. The silence wraps around you, not heavy, but tender, not empty, but alive. It holds you as you once wished to be held, with no demands, no expectations, no judgment. The silence simply says, rest. You lean back. Your eyes drift closed. For the first time, darkness does not feel like an ending. It feels like a cradle. Memories rise, but not in order. They rise like sparks from the dying fire. Sudden, unplanned, shimmering before they fade. The smell of wood smoke from winters long gone. The salt of tears you thought would never dry. The glow of sunlight warming your face on a morning when you believed there was nothing left, and then discovered, against all odds, that despair itself could be softened. And laughter. Oh, the laughter. Stubborn, defiant laughter that burst through sorrow at the strangest times, proof that even in the darkest valley, joy does not surrender. Each memory is a shard of colored glass. Alone, fragmented, but together, they form a window, and when you look through, you see not the past, but meaning, and it becomes clear. You were never meant to conquer time. You were meant to walk with it, and to stumble, to dance, to fall, to rise, to learn that time is not your enemy, but your partner. The kind of partner that teaches through both cruelty and kindness. The kind of partner who forces you to let go, then teaches you the grace of holding on. You draw a breath. The air feels heavy, rich, like old wine. You let it go, and something inside you loosens. Because at last, you see the questions you've been carrying. What was it all for? Did it matter? Will I be remembered? And now, the answers come. It mattered because you were here. It mattered because you tried. It mattered because you loved, even when it broke you. It mattered because you rose, even when no one saw. It mattered because the earth itself bent just slightly under the weight of your footsteps. You do not need monuments. You do not need stone or song. Your proof is already written in lives you touched, in burdens you carried, in moments when you chose to give. Someone will walk differently because you once showed kindness. Someone will love differently because you once mended a wound in silence. Someone will breathe easier because you shouldered a weight they never knew existed. NTHE proof is already here. It always was. And so you surrender, not in defeat, but in grace. You surrender to time's current. You surrender to the endless weaving of beginnings and endings. You surrender to the truth that nothing, no effort, no pain, no joy is ever wasted. N. The night deepens. The air cools. And above you, stars appear, shy at first, then bold, piercing holes of light into the fabric of darkness. You look up, and for the first time, you do not see distance. You see connection bought in. The stars are not unreachable. They are threads, bridges of fire binding you to everything that was, and everything that will be. You are not outside them. You are part of that constellation. Small, yes. Brief, yes. But real. And enough. Your hands rest open in your lap. Empty, but not longing anymore. And open like soil that waits for rain. And in that openness, peace settles. And a peace not demanded, not forced. And a peace earned. Your lips shape words, barely a whisper, but still alive. N. Thank you. N.T. Thank you for the wounds that sharpened me. Thank you for the joys that softened me. Thank you for those who stayed. Thank you for those who left. Thank you for the mess of it all. Thank you for the grace of it all. NTHE words drift into the air, vanishing, yet not vanishing. You know they are heard. By the night, by the stars, by the memory of all things, your eyes close again, this time not from weariness, from contentment. The dark does not swallow you. It receives you, not an ending, but a continuation, and not silence, but a softer voice, one that sings low and endless. And then comes the truth, quiet and undeniable. You were never just surviving. You were always becoming. Becoming the sum of scars. Becoming the glow of laughter. Becoming the silence that now embraces you. Becoming. Always becoming. And even as you fade into night, the world does not lose you. It carries you in whispers, and in echoes, in the stars, in the blood of lives yet to come. You are not gone. You are woven into the soil, and woven into memory, and woven into the great fabric of time. And there, at last, you rest.